What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down why there's going to be a lot of data coming out for tomorrow that could be affecting things, and why I'm growing a bit concerned about the setups on Tesla, SPY, and the QQQ because of what we're seeing on the news that's coming out. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below, or use my QR code right over here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 of free NVIDIA stock. If you deposit $2,000, you're going to get $50 worth of NVIDIA plus a $100 cash reward. Deposits $10,000 to get $300 worth of NVIDIA plus a $100 cash reward, or deposit $50,000 to get $1,000 of free NVIDIA plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. And the offer ends very soon, so please use my link down below. It's actually been extended for another couple of weeks. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening with the market right now. So, looking at Tesla, we have this bearish divergence that's been forming, right? The MACD and RSI are both trending downwards right here. So, if you look at the RSI as well, we're losing a lot of strength despite the fact that it's been trending upwards. And I want to warn everyone that when you look at Tesla, what typically happens to Tesla is that it's greatly affected by SPY and the QQQ. So here Tesla was pushing with SPY. Then as time went on, they both came down together in April. Then they started a nice uptrend together. Although Tesla was trading sideways due to negative news about earnings and such, we did end up catching up on Tesla with the broader markets. So they do tend to move very similarly. And then for the QQQ, it's the same thing. They were pushing together, came down together, then the QQQ and Tesla were uptrending together. Although Tesla was kind of lackluster during the second quarter, it did start to see a big push in Q3. So that's the thing about Tesla. It likes to play a game of catch up sometimes. That's why the price-price ratio is going up right here. But the concern is that October is also known as October, and it tends to favor bears. We tend to see a lot of volatility and possibly some downside if certain things end up panning out. And there's a lot of stuff coming out for October that could be affecting things. Historically, October tends to be green only 1/3 of the time for Tesla. As we get closer to October, I would be very, very cautious because of what we're seeing. Now, there's also been some news about how Tesla has its first full version 4 supercharger. They also are going to be looking for new capacities that are higher than before. And that's some great news because this is going to help them improve their supercharger network. And then there's also been some news from one of Tesla's former presidents, known as John McNeil. He was talking about how he's very, very excited about the longer term for EVs, but for the short term, we could be expecting some volatility in their demand. So, what's going to likely happen is this: there is high demand right now for EVs because of the EV tax credit coming to an end. But after these subsidies like this end up coming to an end, there tends to be a big, big decrease in demand, at least to start things off. But despite that decrease, it's only going to be a short-term thing because the long-term demand curve is going to be very, very positive, and Tesla will be looking for big growth overall. He also praised Tesla's capabilities in Shanghai as they're trying to scale to different areas, and he's saying that they're still doing a fantastic job. So that's a lot of good news for Tesla. We saw a nice push for Tesla back up to this 450 area, and if we held above 445, we could have tried to go even higher. But there is a concern I have about the way the market's moving, and that could be affecting Tesla. So if you look at SPY, what you'll see about SPY is that, yes, this might try to pop a little bit, but then we're going to see if we end up turning down as time goes on, because one could argue that SPY kind of has a lower high rejection that could be forming, and we're kind of in the middle right now. But the QQQ is actually looking weaker than SPY because this also looks like a lower high rejection, and there is going to be a risk of some downside to fill this gap. If we see 595 on the QQQ, can we bounce off that, or do we just reject and start tipping lower? I'd be very, very careful. Now, why am I a little bit concerned? Well, what concerns me is not just because of technical analysis, but also because of the news. There's been a lot of news coming out that there might be a government shutdown, and this is becoming more and more real than before after what we're seeing from Congress. So the government shutdown is going to happen on Wednesday unless the US Congress can agree on a funding bill. And that's very, very important news. President Trump has been trying to meet up with different congressional leaders, but once again, we're going to have to see what happens as time goes on. President Trump is warning us that there's going to be a lot of firings happening of the federal workers if a deal cannot be reached, and we'll see what happens, but that's what we're hearing so far. We had Chuck Schumer come out. He basically said that there are large differences that remain, especially on healthcare. And then there are some analysts that are hopeful a government shutdown could be avoided, but the vice president, J.D. Vance, actually said that he thinks that we're heading into a shutdown because Democrats won't do the right thing. So keep in mind, the Democrats will blame the Republicans. Republicans will blame the Democrats all they want. Both sides blame each other, but always remember that both sides are also equally responsible. And as a country, we have to work together, right? We need both sides to come to a consensus. If they don't, there's going to be a shutdown. So that's the most important thing to remember. What typically happens is that we end up approaching the last couple of days, and then there's going to be some kind of like spending bill that passes like the House, and then the Senate reviews it, and then President Trump will sign it into law. That's typically what's supposed to happen. But what's concerning is that we only have about less than 36 hours left, right? We only have so many hours left until we approach the last day. And then after that, the government's going to shut down. So there's very, very limited time right now. And what's concerning is that it does not seem like our Congress has even come to a consensus to pass any kind of funding bill, any kind of bill to once again continue to keep the government running. So, it's very, very late, right? We're in the last day. And with nothing passing so far, you have to keep in mind there's a long process to get anything passed. It doesn't just happen overnight. So a bill has to pass the House. They got to negotiate, figure out what they're going to do. Then it's going to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to review it, negotiate, do what they got to do. And eventually it has to pass both sides for the president to sign it. We haven't even gone past the House right now, so it's a little bit concerning. Even J.D. Vance is saying he thinks there's likely going to be a shutdown, so you want to be very mindful of that. That could be another very important factor. We had Hammock from the Fed come out who was saying that the Fed needs to maintain a more restrictive policy to bring down inflation. That's her opinion. Different Fed officials have different opinions. Some are saying the Fed has to be more restrictive. Others say the Fed has to cut more. But for now, the Fed is anticipating more cuts, but it also depends on data. Tomorrow is going to be Tuesday, September 30th. It's an important day because, number one, it's going to be the last day of September 2025. The last day of September, the last days of the month are typically full of manipulation. Secondly, we have important jobs numbers. We have the job openings and job quits report at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, alongside the Dallas Fed services data at 10:30. So look for volatility tomorrow. I do expect some volatility, especially at 10 o'clock a.m., so be ready for that. And then also, tomorrow is the last full day until October starts. October, we have lots of data coming out, and then October could be the day the government shutdown starts. Will that cause the market to sell off? We'll see about that. So be very, very careful. But October has a lot of things coming up, right? We have a possible government shutdown. We have lots of data coming out. We have seasonality, which is typically bearish for the markets, especially for Tesla. It's only green 1/3 of the time in October. And then on top of all of that, we have President Trump announcing new tariffs. He's saying he wants to impose a 100% tariff on pharmaceuticals, a 25% tariff on heavy trucks, and also tariffs ranging from 30 to 50% on cabinets and furniture. That's some very, very important news. Then President Trump is also now saying that he wants to impose a 100% tariff on any and all movies that are made outside of the US. So, what I'm trying to tell you guys is that President Trump is difficult to predict. I can't promise you what he's going to say and do. I will tell you this: he looks very, very fixated on these tariffs so far. But what I mean is that we don't always know exactly what the tariffs will include. We know that so far the tariffs may include trucks, pharmaceuticals, furniture, and now movie theaters. But is that all that he's going to be imposing? He could be imposing more things, right? He might be starting to talk about semiconductors, other products, something else, right? You never know. And that's why you want to be very, very careful if he starts including more products, especially semiconductors. That could be concerning for markets. I bring up semiconductors because he was saying for many, many weeks he's going to be imposing semiconductor tariffs very soon. He just hasn't really made that announcement yet, so be careful. So we'll see what happens. Be very, very patient. I am once again a little bit concerned with October approaching. There's a lot of news coming out, new tariffs, a possible government shutdown, and then lots of data alongside seasonality. So if you're a bull on Tesla, you want to see us hold above 445 and then a break 450. We're looking for new highs for 455 if that breaks. If you're a bear, you're going to argue that there is a triple bearish divergence on Tesla starting right over here. Actually, it's more of like a double bearish divergence, and that if Tesla cannot hold 440, we're looking for 435. If that breaks, we're looking for a move right back down. So that's going to be our bearish divergence in case we get some kind of rejection. So for now, we're in the middle right now. We're kind of consolidating on Tesla. We'll see if Tesla tries to go a little bit higher one more time. But watch and see if we could take out this higher or not. If we can't, there's going to be a risk of us returning to 440 and then 435 or below if we get that rejection. It's also worth mentioning that on the daily time frame, Tesla tried to push a bit, it's kind of closed flat, but the daily PPO is nearing a crossover, so it could kind of push and then kind of curl. It is a little bit concerning, especially as we have this gap to fill back down at 395. Is Tesla about to see a corrective phase? Is the market about to turn down in October? It is possible, so keep that in mind. Now for SPY, here's what I'm seeing. So with SPY, it's very simple. If you're a bear, you want to see us lose 662, then eventually drop to 660 or below. If you're a bull, you want to see us break past 665 and hold it. If so, we could be retesting the all-time high. There is a possibility that this is like a high right here. We came down, made a lower high, and we're about to get some kind of rejection. So it does look like we're going to consolidate tomorrow, maybe pop a little bit in the morning. Then we might slow down for 662 or below if this does continue. It also depends on the JOLTS job openings report tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m., but there is a risk of downside if this is a lower high. And I want to give you guys a warning about that on the SPY chart. This could be like a double top at the all-time high, and then we might just kind of downtrend a bit more if we can't take out 665 to 667. Also, keep in mind, like I said about the daily charts, it's kind of flat right here, but you want to be very, very careful since we're nearing a bearish cross in the PPO right here, so be mindful of that. Also, the QQQ on the daily does have a gap to fill down here. Could this be an island reversal-like pattern? And then on top of this, when you look at the 4-hour, it's kind of like a double top. There's a gap to fill over here, so it's not the best of signs. What the QQQ suggests is that we basically had a high right here, the all-time high. We pushed, right, very close to where this trend line happens to be, and we got a rejection. And now we have a gap to fill, so it does favor consolidation, then a move back down to 596 or below if we get some kind of rejection. If you're a bull, you want to see us hold above 600. If we hold 600, we could be bouncing to the all-time high. If you're a bear, you want to see us lose 595. We're favoring a move to 595 to 596, and we'll see if we bounce or not. But as of right now, there is some downside risk looking at this setup. And that's why I'm warning you about Tesla, because if the QQQ and SPY start dipping, if the market starts dipping, that could also drag Tesla down with this bearish divergence, and because of the fear of a government shutdown. So we'll see what happens if there's going to be a government shutdown or not. We'll see. So be patient and watch your levels just to be safe. On the IW, we had a high here. We came down, made a lower high. We got to take out this high. We got to try to take out 244 to continue to push. If we can't take out this high, we might consolidate and then start dipping back down to like 240 or below. So be very careful if we make a lower high. For ES, we have an inverse head and shoulders right here. Now we need to get back above 6750 to really start pushing back up to the all-time high. That is the bullish case. The bearish case is that we lose 6690 and we start dumping back down. We're going to try to pop in the morning, but if we can't take out this high, this could be a lower high rejection, and this could be once again a potential topping pattern on ES to start dipping back down to 6680 or below. So be very careful. On NQ, at a high up here, we came down at a lower high. If we break past 25,000, we're looking for a bigger push higher. But if we lose 24,700, we're looking for a dip back down towards a lower high. This is a high here. We came down, made a lower high. If this is a lower high rejection, we could be dipping back down to 24,700. So be very careful. On Bitcoin, we have a nice looking inverse head and shoulders here. It looks pretty good, but we have to watch this 115,000 area to see if we break past this or not. There's a lot of support becoming resistance around 115,000. So could we push? Yes, but then watch and see if we get a rejection, turn back down towards 113,000. That's going to be very important. Once again, Tesla has a bearish divergence, and if SPY and the QQQ start to turn down, we might consolidate tomorrow, but there is a risk of us retesting 335 if we get a rejection here. I also warn you guys about October, which is historically the most bearish month for Tesla, and with the government shutdown, President Trump's tariffs, and more data coming out, that could be shaking markets, so be very cautious. Okay, that does not mean just go all in on shorts and expect the market to crash. That is not intelligent, because once again, it's risky to do that. What I'm saying is that you always want to manage risks. So if you're long, once again, you want to you could start reducing your positions, set stops, be very, very careful in case the market starts to turn south. Or if you want to short the markets, don't just go all in, but you're going to have stop losses set just in case. It's always important to have stop losses, and then we'll see if the market turns from there. For NQ or Nvda, This is also concerning because Nvidia touched 184. We got to break 184 to be bullish. If not, we have a gap to fill back down to 178. So we favor downside on Nvidia, which could drag the market lower. Apple has a double top here. Unless we hold above 2.5 to bounce, we might be retesting that. If that fails us, we're looking for 250 or below. So be very, very careful. On Netflix, we're making lower highs. We need to get back above 1210 to bounce higher. If not, we may continue to fall back down to 1190 or below. So be very careful. MSTR has resistance right here around 335. We need to hold above 326 to continue to go higher. Might go a bit higher, but be careful at this resistance at our 50 EMA. So 326 to 328 could be tested. We'll see if we turn back down. Celsius could be retesting 57.5 to 58, and we'll see if we turn as well. So be very, very careful. There is upside potential near 58, and we'll see if we turn. For Supermicro, we're making lower highs right here. We might try to retest, 46.5, and we'll see if we turn back down to 45. Near the 47s, we reject, but near 44, we like to bounce. So we'll see if we turn back down from there. Palantir could be dipping back down to 175, and we'll see if we bounce. There is downside risk. Rivian could be dipping back down to 14.93 or below, and we'll see how it ends up reacting. SoFi is on a bit of a downtrend, could be dipping back down towards 27. We'll see how it ends up going. And finally, AMD has a double top here, so it could be dipping to fill this gap back down to 159 to 158, and we'll see how it goes. Finally, ARM is also kind of range bound right here. So if we break past 141.5, we're looking for a bounce. If we lose 140, we're going to be turning back down to 138. So this could be dipping even lower. For PayPal, we have a double top right here. If we lose 69.2, we're going to be turning even lower. So be very, very careful as the downside risk is right there. Coinbase also has a double top like structure, could be dipping back down to 321, and we'll see how it goes in case we get some kind of rejection. For Amazon, we have an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. This does look a bit more bullish. If 222 breaks, we're looking for 224. Meta is on a bit of a downtrend. We need to hold above 746. If not, we could be dipping to 738. Google's on a bit of a downtrend as well. We have 246 as our resistance, and we have support down here at 243. Might push for 246, and we'll see how it goes. Microsoft is also at resistance at 516, and we'll see if it rejects or not. And then TJT might be trying to retest 17 flats. The VIX is unpredictable. It could be going either way if we're about to reject or not, but we're going to see if it breaks out. Be careful the closer we get to October. The 10-year and the dollar are both looking kind of flat right here, so we'll see if we bounce or not. So honestly, guys, watch your levels and always play the price action in front of you, but I do want to give you guys a warning about the downside risk that's increasing because of the government shutdown news that could be coming alongside President Trump's tariffs, alongside more pieces of data. Will we start to see the market sell off? It's possible, so be very, very careful. October is historically one of the most bearish months of the year, so we'll see if we're about to see some kind of dip from here or not. It's very possible looking at the current setups. Anyways, I thank you all so much for listening. Have an awesome rest of your guys' days. I'll be back very soon with another update tomorrow morning. Until then, I wish you all nothing but the best. Have a good one, and peace out.